What's up, space pirates? This is your Admiral, the ever-charming Dr. Disaster. And if you wait long enough, the people who work in these AAA gaming studios will tell you who they are and what they're doing. They just can't help themselves. Their politics come spewing out of their mouths like a bad case of Tourette's.
Cheap, lying, no good, rotten, four-flushing.
The biggest reason that we have been concerned seeing Ciri as the main character in a Witcher game is because we are concerned that the studio will use this as an opportunity to preach at the player base, to push the whole woe is me, I'm a woman, feel bad for me bullshit, which you just know that these screeching harpy HR ladies that have infested the industry are absolutely pushing to show up. Because for them, that's their whole personality. It's the only thing that matters. They just have to push their feminist shit into everything that they observe.
Hey, want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?
Well, an article just dropped which is essentially confirming our fears that CD Projekt Red is excited about having a female main character in The Witcher 4 so that they can start discussing sexism. Because you know how nothing screams fun in a video game quite like a lecture on misogyny and sexism from a bunch of purple-haired wackos who haven't seen their toes in years and blame men for not being attracted to them.
That's a woman?
Yeah, we don't exactly trust modern gaming studios to stick to what gamers actually want these days. We have been burned too many times by those who put their messaging first. Seeing Ciri look as she did in the trailer, with her altered cheekbones to the point that she appeared more masculine, set off warning alerts for a bunch of us that this was a game being made for the modern audience. The enlightened and sophisticated bunch of video game players who love to be preached at when trying to relax and unwind with a video game. They're a rare breed, as you can see from the sales numbers of all the games that are made for them, but if you ever wanted to see what they look like, I did manage to capture some footage of one of them out in the wild.
I like to eat shit!
Alright, me hearties, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and also, don't forget to follow me over on Twitter or X, or whatever you want to refer to it as these days. I keep a list on there of games lousy with wokeness pinned to the account at all times for your reference. My handle over there is Dr. Disaster 1. But let's dive on into this Witcher situation and see what CD Projekt Red has to say about preaching the feminist gospel to us. As we covered yesterday, the lore master of Witcher 4, a guy that was literally just a game journalist before working at the company, meaning he has about as much experience making a video game as any other random person off the street. But the dude is a deranged male feminist simp who says only the stupidest of shit online all the time. With this being the caliber of person that CDPR hires to work for them, it's no surprise that this is the sort of shit that we are hearing about with this game. This article here comes from the website Rock Paper Shotgun, which doesn't think much of you unless you agree with their strange progressive politics. Case in point, look at the way that this jackass starts off the article. It's just pure hostility for anyone who has any questions about the game at all. These are not serious people, these are pure propagandists who hate you. But this Access Media shithead wrote, the announcement of The Witcher 4 with The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt's Ciri as protagonist has attracted a bit of discussion. some of the reaction is online toddlers waxing wroth about a video game having a somewhat older woman as lead character, and especially shock, a video game in a series that has hitherto starred a man. And some of it is people commenting more thoughtfully on whether Ciri genuinely makes for a suitable Witcher protagonist, given that she isn't the product of the typical Witcher genetic modification regime, which is heavily tailored towards men, and given that, without spoiling too much, she has gifts that make crumbly old Geralt's sword and sorcery skill set look rather paltry. You get the idea. The dude is just openly hostile, which is of course why people like me are such smartasses and openly hostile right back. They started the conflict, and man oh man, do they like to whine and act like they are being harassed whenever we call them out for their bullshit. But I digress. Let's read some of this. They're discussing an interview with narrative director Philip Weber. The article reads from here: did CD Projekt consider introducing a custom Witcher 4 protagonist? Eurogamer asked, as in Cyberpunk 2077. I think honestly, this character-driven storytelling has been always in the DNA of our Witcher games, said Weber. First with Geralt, and then of course we started setting up Ciri as a second protagonist in The Witcher 3, and now we want to continue with her as well. And this is why a lot of people have been trying their damnedest not to jump to conclusions too much with the trailer that we saw last week at the Game Awards, because Ciri was always kind of being groomed as the replacement main character in the series. It's just that it's so played out at this stage, replacing a male character with a female, that it's reached the point where gamers are well and truly sick of it, even if it's something that's happening naturally and without any social engineering angle to it. Our first instinct as gamers, especially when we see that they changed the bone structure in Ciri's face, is to roll our eyes. But now, with this talk of feminist talking points being put into the game, well, I've got even more reason to be skeptical of this game. The article goes on though. Weber added that what makes Ciri an intriguing choice of protag is partly that she isn't quite a Witcher. She might not be a fully customizable character, but she has room to grow where Grizzly Gare had already nailed down his Eastwoodian outsider persona by the time he became a video game leading man. One of the things that makes Ciri into an interesting new protagonist for us is, of course, always that she is at the beginning of her journey as a Witcher, said Weber. So, as an example, Geralt was very experienced already. He went through so many things. And, he created his own code, his value of neutrality, he created through so many experiences, and Ciri still has to make many of those experiences. She has to go through so many of these things. So, in a way, even though Ciri is, of course, a defined character, with her, players will have the opportunity to still define her quite a bit more, specifically define the path that she will take on her way to becoming a Witcher, and basically also what kind of person that will make her. And here's where the article takes the turn that you all knew was coming. It reads, naturally Ciri also promises to bring a fresh perspective to the broadly misogynistic, alternately sensitive, and pervy universe of The Witcher, a video game series that once let you collect porno cards for female characters and still loves to make a spectacle of its nubile sorceresses. Yeah, it might shock you idiots to hear this, but the reason the old Witcher games had all that stuff is because, gasp, it was made for men, and men like those things. Even the male feminist simps who would never admit to it, they like that stuff. They just say they don't because sucking up to the HR ladies is the only way they could possibly conceive of to land a woman. They certainly can't do it by virtue of acting like a real man. But the article goes on, I would say the world of The Witcher is a really dark one that's really inspired by, of course, dark fantasy folklore, Weber commented when asked about the game's portrayal of gender politics and sexism. but also medieval to early Renaissance history, and that is a world that was tough for many different groups, women among them. As an example, in The Witcher, we also deal a lot with racism when it comes to non-humans, and this is something that we want to keep up with The Witcher 4. I think it's something that has always been really important. We make games for adults, and it also means that we tackle some difficult topics, he suggested. We tackle them in interesting ways, we tackle them without giving easy answers, but often opening difficult questions that players have to answer. And I think some of those questions might be going in this direction as well, because, yeah, Ciri is a woman, and as a Witcher in this world, this is an unusual state. So I don't think it's going to be this story everywhere, but since this is a part of this world, and we want to tackle so many of these different themes, it's definitely also going to appear there as well. Yeah, well, what if we don't have any interest in that age-old feminist question? As gamers, what if we are sick and tired of that question being shoved in our faces like a chloroform rag, knocking us out of these simulated worlds that we are supposed to be engaged in when we play these games? I don't know about you guys, but I have about had it with these questions being pushed to the forefront of every game these AAA studios make. It isn't novel. At this point, talking about things like sexism and racism is trite. It's the easy way out. In fact, I go so far as to say, as the progressives, not letting these issues go are just about the only things keeping actual racism and sexism on life support. If we were ever allowed to move past it, gamers are happy to oblige. I mean, look at games from the early 2000s. Those were some extremely diverse cast of characters, and nobody was upset about it. But we are now, because it is just pandering and lecturing to a degree that is just plain unfun. But I'm gonna leave it there. What do you make of this interview with The Witcher 4's narrative director? Drop your thoughts into the comment section below, and we will talk there. Thanks for watching, me hearties. If you haven't already, your Admiral is inviting you to subscribe to the channel and become a part of the crew. Life as a space pirate may not be glamorous, but there's always plenty of booty.